We'd like to welcome all of y'all to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame Class of 2021-22 press conference. Congratulations to each of you. Let's jump right into the questions in just a minute when we get started, and we welcome any questions from the audience as well. Now, we will ask you to share the mic, if you don't mind, as we ask questions. I'm Ron Ingram. I'm the Director of Communications, and this is Brandon Dean, the Director of our Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association. Brandon?
Thank you, Ron. Good evening. This first question is a general question, starting with Larry. Who was someone who made a major impact on your career?
Well, I had a lot of coaches that I used to coach against that I learned so much from, and I worked a lot of camps and learned a lot from the college coaches. And but probably the most was some of the competitors that I went up against, like Obadiah Threadgill and Frank Talbert, people like that.
Thank you. David Dobbs.
The biggest influence was Coach Mike Dutton in high school. He was my high school coach. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, convinced me that I needed to go into coaching and education. I wasn't sure why, but he saw something in there and he convinced me. And then I guess probably the next person would be Jack Wood. I came in as a young coach at Hewitt and sort of followed his example of direction and organization, and that's really the two that were the main influences for me. Also other coaches that I coached against.
Thank you, David. Mark Jones.
It'd be hard to narrow it down to just one person, but if I had to choose one, I guess I would choose Glenn Hawkins, who is also a member of the Hall of Fame. He was a great leader of officiating that just taught me how to do what you needed to do to survive the game.
Thank you, Mark. Coach Killen.
I would have to say my family, my mom, my brother, my dad, they always supported me and took me to all athletic events. If I had to pick a coach, it would be Coach Brenda Wright. She was my volleyball coach and my softball coach in high school, and she really inspired me to go into coaching.
Thank you. Stacy?
Go ahead, the mic back.
Probably my biggest influence as a coach was Coach Nolan Atkins, who I played for at Sweetwater, and also he gave me my start in coaching. Made me a defensive coordinator straight out of college at 23 and sort of walked away from me and told me to go get after it. So, but he had a huge influence on just the discipline part of the game and the hard work and just really, teaching kids how to just honor so many great things about our game. And probably another influence was my oldest brother, Keith, who coached 30 years in the state. He got me to see more of a role model side that as a young coach I really didn't see. So that really sort of changed my perspective as a head coach, a young head coach. And so I owe a lot to him for that.
Thank you.
So I'm here to represent my dad, Wayne Murphy. I'd like to say that the first was J.E. Hot O'Brien. Was his high school football and track coach. Had a lot of influence on him. And then second would be Wilbur Hudson. He coached with him at track at Auburn University and had a great influence on his career.
Thank you. Coach Perry?
Biggest influence on my life in coaching was my father. He was the father of 5 boys, and bless his heart, he had to coach every day to keep all of us in straight. But in the professional coaching realm, it would be Charlie Williamson, who gave me my first job, and then on to Spence McCracken, who's a Hall of Famer. He really taught me to coach with passion, and yet everybody knows how passionate Spence is.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Powell.
I'm a lot older than all these guys in here, I think. And growing up, I just always loved sports and playing sports. It wasn't any Nintendo. Really, coaching wasn't as near level as it is today. And going through school and all, it wasn't really there. Coach Braun had a good influence on me coaching, but I learned more after I actually got into coaching, was already coaching from some of the more established coaches like Stacy Lukens and Hankins and all those guys you played all the time that they made you get better or you wouldn't survive.
Thank you, Coach. Moving on to LaShawn Robinson Gardner.
Yes, I'm representing my father, the late Mr. Wade Robinson, and I would say first and foremost, his parents, Mamie and David Robinson, had an influence on his life, but professionally and as a coach, I would say his former teacher and coach, Mr. Booker T. Hollinger, had the greatest influence on him.
Thank you. Coach Elwood.
My mother was the person behind whatever I did. At a young age, she said that you're going to be an athlete. And you're probably going to be a coach. And my brother heard that too. He got started working with me and doing things, doing sports things, and that sort of thing. But as far as coaching is concerned, not necessarily a coach, but the youngsters that I coached in the beginning made me think about coaching and really want to get into it. So without their help, I probably wouldn't be here. We have two of our former coach players in the back.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Coach Smith.
Yes, first of all, my parents sacrificed tremendously for me to pursue my dreams. Dad was a World War II veteran, 95th Infantry, combat medic, Purple Heart Silver Star. Mom worked at a sewing plant. Just sacrifices so I could pursue athletic career, and I still had responsibilities at home, feeding chickens, going to take care of the cattle and everything. But then my high school coaches, Coach Harlan Robinson, who was an inductee in 2000, taught me the work ethic right there. Having the opportunity to have him as my coach, and as also as a colleague on the coaching staff. Now, it was all about work, all about preparation. Everyone has a will to be a winner. Not everyone had the will to prepare. Coach Robinson taught me how to have the will to prepare. And then my other high school coach, Coach David Mobley, said, make it fun. It's got to be fun. Do it right there. He said, we went to Decatur in 91. Coach Mobley's ice on a good season, go up and have fun. Coach Robinson, he may never get another chance, and he better go up and win this thing. So a combination of that philosophy right there, but just great mentors growing up right there and coaching with right there. I am blessed to the nth degree. And some of the greatest young people in the world I worked with at Remember High School, and parents that supported me in my endeavors.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Stapler.
Probably my mother, single mom who raised two boys, and always taught us that if anybody was giving you anything, they wanted something. That if you wanted good things to happen to you in life, you had to earn it. And then my high school coach, Coach T. Cotton Rogers at Butler for years. And then probably the greatest influence on my life was my junior college coach, Glenn Clem, who left this earth way too early. He was a great mentor to a lot of young men, and he gave a lot of young men an opportunity that hadn't gotten in other times and other places.
Thank you, Coach. Our second general question, we'll start in reverse order this time with you, Coach Stapler. Question would be, what do you treasure most about your career as an educator and a coach?
Been able to persevere for 52 years. I guess that's the greatest thing. I just finished my 52nd year. Hopefully I got a couple more in me. Seems like every time something breaks down, I get it replaced. It's a little bit better than it was before it broke down. We're about the same. So, and then the opportunity to be around so many wonderful young people. Kids haven't changed a lot today. Crazy mamas and daddies have changed. But just being around those young men.
Thank you. Coach Smith.
Oh my goodness, just as Coach said, just being around the young people, that keeps me young. Goodness, I've coached over 42 years total right there in administration now for the last 3 or 4. Like I say, it's about relationships. It never was about, individuals, but it's all about the chemistry, working together, camaraderie, just being able to make a difference. I heard this Warren Buffett quote, and final analysis right here, it's how you live your life and to spread love to impact the lives of young people. And that's why I'm still hanging around, I guess, in education.
Coach Elwood.
One of the reasons that I'm here is because of the youngsters that I was able to coach. And because of that coaching, I have come to realize that life is how you live it, what you do with it, and things of that nature. But it also gives me the privilege and honor to be able to coach the young men and young women of today and look back and say, well, I really have enjoyed it. And I'm still enjoying it, but not from an active point of view.
Thank you. If you can't speak on that, if not, we understand.
I would have to say, on behalf of my father, I think just having an impact on the youth that he actually coached and also taught in school, and being able to just see the successes that the youth ended up, becoming.
Thank you. Go ahead, John.
The impact the most, I guess, is the relationships with the kids, the young ladies I've got to coach, the coaches, staff that I've coached with, and being at Desher for 33 years. It's a great place, and just it's no place like Desher and the kids at Desher. So that's the most impact.
Thank you. Mark?
I think it's watching the people that have grown up around you and the success of others that you've been a part of, but not only that, they really contributed to my success as well. And as somebody mentioned earlier, the camaraderie in officiating, it's a brotherhood that is just second to none.
Thank you. Coach Powell?
Pretty much along the same lines. It's the relationships and the friendships you make through the years, both from your players and former players and the coaches that you coach with and the coaches you coach against. The other thing is the ability that you have to make a positive influence on some of today's youth. And when you look out and see how some of your former players are very successful in life, that brings a big joy to you. When you was younger, you probably thought it was all winning. And don't get me wrong, winning's still important, but the relationships you make is what stays with you forever.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Yeah, the relationships, that's number one. Whether it's the players, when you get a call in the middle of the night, hey, Coach, I just want to talk to you. Till the times they say, Coach, will you come to my wedding? You know you've made a difference, or you know you made an impact. And then the coaches you work with, that's the icing on the cake. Somebody asked me one time, said, why don't you retire? And I said, well, if I do, I'll lose all my friends, because all my friends are in coaching, and I don't know what I'd do without them.
Thank you. Don?
My dad was a great motivator, and he always got more out of somebody than they thought they could do. And I was fortunate to be one of those people, but I would tell you, helping people get to do something they didn't think they could do was something he really enjoyed.
Stacy?
I want to continue to agree with everyone in here. I think that what we do is so much about relationships with our kids and about coaches. And, I believe that God has given us a platform to stand on, to be a good example for them, to mentor these kids, whether they play sports or not. You see them in the halls, and you get to build those relationships too through the halls. So, I have been very fortunate to be in places to be able to do that, and have made lifelong friends coaching, people like Danny and Jack Hankins and others, and I see a sideline crew even from Leroy High School that we badgered back and forth with for years. So, just there's a respect there, I think, amongst coaches and people you go against. And again, man, just lifelong friends, and just so proud that I've been able to be a part of this.
Thank you. Larry? Sorry. David, I'm sorry.
I reiterate everything everybody said. The relationships between the kids, how you handle it with them, the relationships with the coaches you coach against. But the one thing for me that has really stood out was the number of kids that, because of coming through our program, and they say because of what I've been able to do, I've convinced them to go into coaching and to give back. And that's been the number one thing, I guess, for me. I mean, I'm not going to give up the relationships with the kids, and certainly not the relationships with the coaches and the staff, but the number of kids that say, hey, because of what happened here, I want to go into coaching and do what you did.
Thank you. Larry?
And I reiterate everything that they said about the relationships and being so proud when they've gone off and done well. But the thing that probably thrilled me more than anything, I won the state championship my first 2 years as a head coach. And the way it transformed that community, who had never experienced that before, was just the biggest thrill for me ever, because that school was never the same after those championships, and it was for the better. It just transformed them and lifted them up. It was a very high poverty school and community. So that'll be the one thing that I'll cherish forever.
Thank you, Larry. At this time, do we have any questions from the audience?
Anybody want to ask a question from the audience? What about you, Mayor?
Welcome, Mayor.
It's not about me. It's about these gentlemen here. I think I've actually ran across most of the people in here. Coach Sherwood has signed a ton of kids from Clark County. Miss Robinson's father helped coach at Clark County High School. Of course, I've known Coach Powell since he was hollering at Frog in the gymnasium at Jackson Academy, and of course Stacy all the way back to Sweetwater and some of these other people. So congratulations on all of y'all. But I hear having the small town that we have has been a blessing to deal with coaches, and Stacy and I have talked numerous times, and Coach Powell. But is this one of those things that ever crept into your mind, being a member of this Hall of Fame? Stacy, Danny, any of you?
No, honestly, not at all. Sort of came out of nowhere, but I don't think you get into coaching. If you get into coaching for the right reasons, you're not doing it for all the accolades and everything that comes with winning or whatever. I think everybody in here has touched on some of the major reasons to be in this, and that's relationships and things. I mean, honestly, I'll cherish that more moving forward as I will a lot of the wins and championships. But no, man, I never envisioned this.
Any of you others want to answer that question? Or other questions? We've got a hand raised. Coach, okay, Coach Powell, you never turned Ross down before, have you?
He's always been good to me. I think early on, no, you never did. Probably when I started, I probably didn't even know they had a Hall of Fame. But, and I think Stacy needs to rethink this a little. As you've won, if you're fortunate enough to win a lot of championships, you've got a chance. And you have people that are your supporters, they're telling you you ought to be in there and all. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing it for or you want to, but you do kind of after a while think, it would be a big honor, a huge honor if you could get there. And, if you don't, it's a lot more worthy candidates also. So I think later in your career, like I told you, Stacy's still so young, he doesn't realize this stuff. Later in your career, it kind of creeps in your mind.
Just a couple of questions for certain people right now. Starting with Mark Jones. You taught a lot of folks how to be a contest official. Who stands out as your best student that you taught as being an official?
You keep putting a lot of pressure on me on just answering one person. There's numerous ones that have been successful and gone on to calling the NBA, call college ball. There's one coming here tonight from Gainesville, Florida, that was a student worker of mine in the intramural program, and calls in the SEC men's basketball, Mark Ellert, who will be here tonight. But just watching the success of all those people, it's just a thrill to see that.
Thank you. Coach Perry, what would be your advice to young and up-and-coming coaches in today's coaching world?
Well, probably they're all like I was when I started. It was all about being a competitor, being competitive every week, trying to win, success. But as we start to get more gray hair, like most of us up here, the shift goes from your success to your significance. What are you doing for this child? What are you doing for this player every day? And I think it's just maturity taking place, and that's going to happen. But if a young coach starts out, if he'll really concentrate on his significance that he's making in that young person's life, the success will come.
I'm going to direct this next question to LaShawn. You mentioned something to me when we were doing interviews about what your dad would do when your players came back from a road game and it was really too late for them to get home. Of course, if they were going to get home, he was going to take them. But tell us that experience with your family, what y'all did for those players at Wilcox when it was just too late to get home because they all lived out in the county.
Sure. So oftentimes when that situation occurred, we would sometimes host the players, so they would actually stay at our home overnight, and my father would also, contact their parents to let them know that they were in safe hands and where they were so the parents would not be worried.
And your mama cooked them breakfast, right?
Sometimes.
Okay. And this question's for Donald over here. Donald, you relate a time when you got to go to Sulligent with your dad. He was actually working for Auburn University, scouting some players. Tell us about that.
So my dad helped recruit when Shoot Jordan was coaching at the university, and Friday nights I get to go with him to recruit. And that's when they didn't have films, football players, and we'd go into these small towns and we'd look in the sky for the lights and we'd drive to the stadium. And we went to Sulligent one night, looking at James Cripps, Joe Cripps and James Brooks, and we stayed there about 5 minutes. They scored about 4 touchdowns, and the game was on. But had a lot of fun going with him to different things like that. And then I think him and one of the coaches ended up spending it was 2 or 3 months in Sulligent there with other coaches from other universities trying to make sure they went to Auburn.
Thank you. Jana, this is your question. You coached more than 800 wins in basketball and 900 in volleyball. Do you recall your first victory at Deschler or your first loss?
I recall my first loss. It was, well, first off, Coach Tandy Gerald's hired me, and he told me, he said, you'll be lucky to win a game this season. And I was like, that's fine. I want a job. I'm ready for this. So my first loss was against Muscle Shoals, against my former teammate, Brenda Mays. We played at UNA together, and I got beat 40. And I was like, is this what high school basketball is all about? So we went to work after that, and things changed.
Thank you. Stacy, your question. What's your biggest thrill? Winning a state title with your brother or winning one with your son on the team?
Definitely with my yes, I'm on. It was with my sons. I was fortunate in 2007 to have all 3 of them on that team. All of them have at least 3 rings in football, so it was spread out over those years. And then, of course, my youngest one was our offensive coordinator on the team this year. So, just sharing that moment with them, man, it's been pretty cool. My brothers, I don't like them very much, not near as much as my boys, but anyway, yeah, man, it was pretty neat.
Now, this question is for Dr. DeShire. Dr. DeShire, you mentioned your basketball coaching, but you told us earlier you didn't start out thinking you were going to be a coach, yet you spent, when you left coaching, you became a leader in other things. Tell us about your prize project that has made such a difference to all of our member schools.
Right. No, I had no aspirations to coach, but the person that was coaching junior high quit, and at a small school, there's a limited number of people to coach. And they asked me if I would coach them because they saw I played high school ball, and so I did, and then just moved up the ranks to be the varsity coach and led to that. But I only did that for a limited period of time, and I became a school administrator, elementary principal, all the way through the central office to a school superintendent. And during those years in the central office, one of the things that the coaching experience showed me was how ill-prepared we were to deal with injuries at football practice, at baseball practice, at basketball practice. We didn't have any formal training. We didn't have any kind of safety plans put together. We didn't have first aid equipment a lot of times. We didn't have cell phones back then. And so we were really doing a disservice to the kids, and I felt so inadequate every time one of my kids went to the ground and I'm yanking on their knee, I'm pulling this joint, and really had no training. So we really pushed in the Lee County school system to get all coaches and people that do extracurricular to get first aid trained, CPR trained, get AEDs in our schools, get athletic trainers in our schools. I wrote articles, but the most important thing we did was we put together in Lee County Schools a safety plan for athletic venues so that after school, when storms were coming by, you had hazardous weather equipment nearby. You were prepared when kids got hurt. And we went across the state with the Alabama High School Athletic Association, along with the State Department of Education, who adopted it to where everybody now has to use safety plans for after-school athletics and extracurricular activities. They're required by the legislature now to have AEDs in their schools. So that'll probably be the number one thing when I'm through with this thing that I'm most proud of, because that's going to save lives. It's going to save kids from getting hurt, or at least we're going to at least know how to deal with it better than we were doing it. So very proud of that work and the impact that it's had. And I'll end with this. It was really the most rewarding when I got a phone call from a special education coordinator. I was the special ed coordinator at the time, and he said, "Larry, you just saved a life." He said, after you trained us and spoke to us in Montgomery, our school purchased an AED, and one of our coaches went down yesterday, and if it wasn't for the AED, he would have died. And so it didn't matter after that. The whole thing was worth it after hearing that.
Well, Coach, thank you for sharing that with us. We prepared a question specifically for each one of these, but we could not prepare the time. So we were out of time. Let's give all of these Hall of Famers a round of applause. We thank all of y'all for being here and supporting them. And now we're going to have to close this business. And remember, y'all on a sharp timetable. We're going to march you next door, and we're going to get a picture that's going to be a cherished photo for all of y'all. Yes, sir.
I just want to make one point. I'm the only official in here. You'll notice all the coaches, they talk about getting gray hair. I'm the only one without hair.
Hey.
That tells you something about
Hey. Thank y'all for attending.
Good evening, and welcome to the 31st Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony and banquet. As president of the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association, it is my privilege and great honor to welcome all of you to this very special and prestigious occasion. Tonight, we will pause to give honor where honor is due by recognizing 11 individuals who have given so much to our student athletes and communities of our state. It is also my distinct pleasure to introduce our Master of Ceremony for this evening. He is no stranger to this event, and we are thrilled to have him back for the 9th consecutive year. Please welcome longtime sports director for Montgomery's WSFA TV12 and current communication specialist for Auburn University's athletic department and former Alabama Sportscaster of the Year, Mr. Jeff Shearer.
Thank you, Brittany. We begin tonight with our Spotlight Parade of inductees. Each of our 12 inductees will be preceded by a flag bearer representing the AHSAA member school that nominated them for the Hall of Fame. So without further ado, flag bearer Calvin Crabb, former player, Lochapoka High School. Dr. Larry DeShera, Administrator, Lee County Schools and Phoenix City Schools. Flag bearer, Lance Walker, Athletic Director, Trustful City Schools. Coach David Dobbs, Hewitt Trustful High School. Flag bearer, Keith Harmon, Principal, Oxford High School. Smith, Athletic Director, Deschler High School. Coach Jana Killen, Deschler High School. Flag bearer Keith Luker, brother and retired coach. Coach Stacy Luker, Marengo County Schools. Flag bearer Dan Norton, Athletic Director, Auburn City Schools. Coach Wayne Murphy, Auburn High School. Accepting for him will be his son, Don Murphy. Flag bearer Danny Perry, son. Coach Jimmy Perry, St. James School. Flag bearer Bobby Farish, alumni, Leroy High School. Coach Danny Powell, Leroy High School. Flag bearer Reginald Powell, Athletic Director, Wilcox Central High School. Mr. Wade Robinson, Wilcox Central High School. Accepting for him will be his daughter, LaShawn Robinson Gardner. Flag bearer Jayla Shelwood, daughter. Coach Johnny J.D. Shelwood, LaFleur High School. Flag bearer Shanna Pollard, teacher and former player. Coach Timothy Smith, Ranburn High School. Flag bearer Scott Stigler, son. Coach Ronnie Stigler, Westminster Christian Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame class of 2022. this time, we ask that you stand as we honor America with the singing of our national anthem, to be performed by Callie Gilliland, senior at Addison High School and granddaughter of Wanda Gilliland, Hall of Fame class of 2011.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Callie. If this were one of those reality talent shows, all the judges would have turned around, right? Please be seated, and our invocation this evening tonight will be given by Mr. Tyler Dent, Second Vice President of the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing us to gather tonight to honor these inductees. Thank you, Lord, so much for this High School Athletic Association who provides such tremendous leadership for this state. Thank you, Lord, for these inductees tonight who have affected so many throughout their careers. Lord, bless this food to our bodies and our bodies to your service. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
The 12 outstanding individuals we honor tonight were selected from among a long, impressive list of nominees from across our state. It's my honor to recognize the men and women who served on the 2022 Hall of Fame committee and tackled the difficult task of evaluating the nominees and selecting the class of 2022. If committee members would please stand when your name is called. David Bell, official representative. Trina McKenzie Smith, AHSAA Central Board member. Van Phillips, President of the AHSAA Central Board. Farrell Seymour, Vice President of the AHSAA Central Board. D. Mark Mitchell, Media Representative. Kim Vickers, Associate Executive Director of the AHSAA. Mr. Alvin Briggs, Executive Director of the AHSAA. And Brandon Dean, Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association. A round of applause, please. And thank you. We would also like to introduce the officers of the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association. So if officers would please stand as your name is called. Brittany Coleman, President of the Coaches Association. And Tyler Dent, Second Vice President of the Coaches Association. And now that we have completed our introductions, we'll begin with the program with comments from the Executive Director of the AHSAA, Mr. Alvin Briggs.
Good evening. First, congratulations to all the new inductees. I would also like to welcome all the former inductees here tonight. You're the ones that make this a special occasion for these new inductees as you welcome them into your fraternity. I also would like to thank Mr. Dan Washburn, former executive director, for it was him that started this illustrious Hall of Fame in 1991. I also would like to send a special thank you to Mr. Steve Savarese. As all y'all well know, Coach Savarese holds a special place in my heart, not only as a mentor, but as a father figure. I also would like to ask you to say a prayer for Coach Savarese and his wife, Beth, as she is dealing with a few health issues. I also would like to thank Brandon Dean and Devin Booth for all the hard work that they put in for tonight. Let's give them a round of applause right now. Thank you. I'd like to thank Lisa Ruff for her patience with me this week, as I've been really, I guess, pestering her about the tables and everything, so she's been really patient with me. I'd like to thank her for her patience and willingness to deal with me as we put on this banquet. I'd like to thank all the staff at the AHSA and the former staff members for all the love and hard work they put into this banquet over the years, for they love our member schools. And I'd like to send another special thank you to Alan Mitchell, as he was with Mr. Washburn when they first put on this Hall of Fame banquet in 1991, and still helps us as he is a part-time with the association. Let's give Mr. Allen a round of applause, please. And that, without saying, our Central Board of Control, who is committed to the education mission of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. And lastly, I'd like to thank my lovely wife, Roxy, for I've dragged her all over the state for the last 10 years with the association, and for the last 32 years that we've been married, as I have she's had to put up with hundreds, if not thousands, of young people coming to our house at various times. So thank you, Roxy. To the 11 inductees and to your families, thank you for giving your fathers, husbands, mothers, significant others, to the communities in which they were involved with over the years. Because of your personal sacrifices, these 11 have made untold impact on thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people in various communities across the great state of Alabama. Would you please give those families a round of applause? Lastly, to 11 inductees, Larry, David, Jana, Stacy, Jimmy, Danny, Johnny, Tim, Ronnie, Wayne, Wade, and Mark. Congratulations on being inducted to the 31st class of the Alabama High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame. And I want to leave you with just one last quote from Gandhi. The best way you can find yourself is to lose yourself in service. And you have given yourself selfishly to service the communities of the state of Alabama. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Coach Briggs. To welcome and recognize special guests in attendance tonight is Mr. Brandon Dean, Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association.
Good evening. Each and every year, we have those in the audience who chose to leave their busy schedules to be here to represent the university or other entity. These guests understand the importance of high school athletics and the impact of those who are being honored here tonight. At this time, we would like to recognize this group of supporters, which your group is called. With those affiliated with that group, please stand. From Auburn University, Brent Betzold, Trevon Reed, and Michael Riggs. From Jacksonville State University, Athletic Director Greg Sykes. from the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, Scott Myers and Edgar Weldon. We appreciate these special guests and their continued support of this event. Thank you.
Now to welcome and recognize our corporate partners is Ms. Devin Booth, Assistant Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association.
Good evening. When you attend one of our championship events or special all-star events, you often hear the public address announcer recognize the AHSAA corporate partners. The main reason these announcements are made is because we appreciate our corporate partners and contributing sponsors and what they do for our student athletes, coaches, schools, and communities. We ask those in attendance representing each corporate partner to please stand when the corporate name is called. Please hold your applause until we've recognized them all. The HSAA corporate partners are Alabama Power, Alpha Insurance, Coca-Cola, Encore Sports Medicine, Future Ones, Jax, Team IP, Wilson Sporting Goods, also our corporate sponsor, Cadence Bank, and our corporate contributors, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama, American Cancer Society, Children's of Alabama, TNT Fireworks, Army ROTC, U.S. Marine Corps. Our corporate community allows us to create long-lasting experiences for our student athletes and fans through our championship events and so much more. Please join me in thanking these tremendous supporters of high school athletics in Alabama.
At this time, we would also like to thank Balfour, our ring provider. Balfour provides each inductee with a Hall of Fame ring, a wonderful memento for each inductee to cherish. Please join me in thanking Balfour for their continued support of this event. Now to recognize the members of the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame who are in attendance this evening is Ms. Kim Vickers, Associate Executive Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We would ask that you would hold your applause until all classes have been called. Former inductees in attendance, please stand when your class is being called, and then you may be seated after your class year has been called.
At this time, we would like to honor all those present from past classes of the AHSAA Sports Hall of Fame. We ask the members of each class to please stand as your class year is called, and then please be seated as the next year is called. Audience, please hold your applause until all classes have been called, beginning with our inaugural class of 1991. Class of 1992, and the class of 1993, class of 1994, the class of 1995, the class of 1996, the class of 1997, the class of 1998, the class of 1999, the class of 2000, the class of 2001, class of 2002, the class of 2003, class of 2004, the class of 2005, class of 2006, the class of 2007, the class of 2008, and the class of 2009, and the class of 2010, and the class of 2011, and the class of 2012, class of 2013, class of 2014, class of 2015, our 25th anniversary year, the class of 2016, the class of 2017, and the class of 2018, and the class of 2019, and our 30th class of 2020. Please join me in a round of applause for these former inductees of the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame.
And thank you for coming back and supporting this wonderful event, Hall of Fame members. And now we have come to the highlight of the evening, the induction of the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame class of 2022. And Coach Briggs and Brandon and Brittany will take places down here in front to assist with this important ceremony. And as they do, I want to reflect for just a couple seconds on something that I heard Phil Snow, the MC of this wonderful event for the first 18 or 20 years. He loved this event, and then he handed the torch to me a few years ago, and I asked him what he enjoyed about it, and he said, "These are service people." What a great definition, right? Service people, people who serve. All of you have served and invested in your community, and you've left an indelible mark. You've left it better than you found it, and this room is filled with people whose lives you have touched. So thank you for being service people. What a great, something we should all aspire to be. Let's honor the newest members of the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame. Dr. Larry DeShera, please stand.
Inducted as an administrator, Larry DeShera began his career as a teacher and boys basketball coach at Lochapoka High School in Lee County, winning back-to-back 1A state championships in 1988 and 89. In 6 seasons, his teams won 115 games. A graduate of Foley High School and Auburn University, he earned a doctorate in educational leadership. After serving as Lochapoka's principal, DeShera moved to Lee County Schools' central office before serving as superintendent of Phoenix City Public Schools for a decade, and later as acting superintendent for Selma City Schools. Working with the State Department of Education, Dr. DeShera provided statewide training on safety and emergency plans for athletic venues and extracurricular events. For 15 seasons, he served as the radio analyst for Auburn women's basketball.
I was very active in my high school, and a lot of people thought I was going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something, and I chose to work with students with disabilities because I wanted to make a difference with that group of kids. And I just accidentally became a coach. You know, at Lochapoka, that community was so proud of their basketball program. And when I first got there, it was a win at all costs kind of mentality. One of the things I tried to change there is it's not going to be win at all cost. We're going to do the right thing at all cost. The scoreboard will take care of itself if you do the right things. I remember especially the first team because we entered the state playoffs with the worst record of any team that made the state playoffs. And just the exhilaration of going in there with the worst record, beating our rival, Notasulga, in double overtime to win the state championship was something I'll never forget. You know, I went from loving those kids and spending lots of time with them on and off the court, building those relationships, to becoming their principal and having to be the person that got them out of the hallways, that disciplined them and so forth. Different kind of relationship. I enjoyed the coaching relationship much better. When I was with the Lee County school system, I was moved into the central office as the special education director, and one of the duties that I was given during that period was the safety officer. And one of the things that I realized was when I was a coach, there were often times that I had to deal with an emergency. and just how unprepared I was to deal with that crisis. So we started a program in our school district to begin training every single extracurricular coach, band director, cheerleader coach, doesn't matter. They all need to know CPR and first aid. But after school, it was just you and your team. It was just the band director and their band. And they needed to be better prepared. So we put together safety plans for after-school activities. We shared that with the state. The state fell in love with it and then began implementing it across the state in partnership with the Alabama High School Athletic Association. I'll never forget the phone call I got from a friend of mine who was a special ed director up in Coleman. And he said, Doc, he said, your AEDs just saved a life here in our school district. And I said, no matter what happens at this point, that made it all worth it because we advocated for something and it made a difference at least with one person. It's incredible what this selection means to me. To be selected, to be among those people that have contributed, you know, I actually felt guilty because there were so many other people that are so more deserving that did it longer than I did. To say that I'm proud and honored and humbled is an understatement.
Coach David Dobbs, please stand.
Recognized as one of the AHSA's most outstanding track and cross-country coaches, David Dobbs grew up in Birmingham, graduating from Banks High School and earning bachelor's and master's degrees from UAB. Known by his peers and students for his kindness and humility, Coach Dobbs has led by example on the track and in his personal life, working with numerous charities. For 31 seasons from 1990 to 2021, he coached track and cross country at Hewitt-Trussville, winning girls indoor and outdoor state track titles in 1999 and winning both boys and girls championships in 2021. More than 90 of his student athletes signed college scholarships. Dobbs received the Class 7A Making a Difference Award in 2020 and was the Jefferson County Teacher of the Year in 1996.
I would say starting early got me into education would be Coach Mike Dutton. When I came into high school, there were no middle school sports, so I didn't know anything. And of course, I went to Banks where it was a football state championships after championships after championships. I thought I was going to play. I wasn't very good, broke my finger. Coach Dutton put it back into place. And about 2 days later, we were in PE and we were going to run the mile. And he gave us a threat to run the mile fast. And he and Coach Bobby Johns, and I ran the mile really well. And he came to me and said, "You're never going to play football at Banks High School." And the next Sunday, I had a kid show up at my house, and it was the captain of the cross-country team, and said, "You're going to run cross-country because Coach Dutton said you were going to." I had no clue what it was. And that started my career in running in high school. I think it gives a wide variety of athletes a chance to participate, a chance to be successful, and that's what track and field that I've always sold it on in high school at Hewitt. So a lot of kids have come in and they've discovered that, hey, I'm really good at something that I never even thought about, and it gave them something to participate in. We've got them right now. We've got a young boy that just came out, and he right now is, one of the top high jumpers in the state. Never thought about it, never even crossed his mind. And so that's where a lot of them, they'll come out and they'll find that they're pretty good at something. And the way I looked at it was, with 17 events, we can find something you can participate in and be good at. The rewards really were the fact that you took a kid that really, we've had a lot of this happen, kids that in middle school really couldn't participate in sports and ended up being state champions for us in high school. We just had 2 girls tell us recently, and they said if you had not been around, one of them said, I would have probably gone in the marching band, but because I ended up being a state champion, I had college paid for. I'm not in debt. That's the reward, is coming back as these kids that come back and go, hey, you know, holy cow, I was successful at something and even successful at the next level. Well, we became involved in Firehouse Ministries up in Birmingham years ago. We've always brought our kids in about one Sunday a month, the kids that wanted to volunteer and go and feed the homeless. We've also been involved in community kitchens. It has convinced a lot of them that service, community service outside of the school and outside of competition is really what it's about. It's about serving your fellow man better, and it's convinced a lot of them to go in that direction. It's very humbling, and I'm sure you've heard that, but it is very humbling, especially when I walk downstairs and I see the wall and I see some of my former coaches up there, and I see a lot of my peers up there. To be selected by your peers looking at your body of work that you've put out, not only in coaching and athletics, but in other parts of your life and in service to others, I couldn't ask for anything else.
Sports Hall of Fame coach David Dobbs. When we had our spotlight parade of inductees, that was the loudest cheer I've ever heard for an official in my life. Mark Jones, please stand.
One of the state's most respected contest officials and teachers of officiating, Mark Jones grew up in Marshall County, graduating from Guntersville High School and Jacksonville State. After earning his master's, he worked at JSU for more than 3 decades as director of recreation while teaching classes on officiating. From 2016 until his retirement last year, he served as AHSAA Director of Officials. From 1978 to 2010, Jones officiated basketball, football, softball, and baseball at the high school and collegiate levels, officiating numerous state championship games. He served as the Northeast Regional Basketball Tournament Director for 23 years and oversaw the introduction of instant replay in high school football. A former Jacksonville City Councilman and Council President, Jones was inducted into the Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame in 2020.
The thing about the Hall of Fame for everyone is you didn't get there on your own. There's a lot of people that helped me along the way. I had the support of my father, and an illustration of that is, for whatever reason, because my next door neighbor, Hut Thomas, was an official, I was intrigued by his officiating uniform and the fact that he was official. So I pursued officiating, even as a little kid. Until you do it, you really don't know how to appreciate it, but it has helped me in life more than anything else in everything that I do, because it teaches you about fairness and dealing with people in hostile situations and conflict resolution. You know, I was always asked, what was your favorite sport to officiate? And my answer every time was the one that was in season. But the camaraderie with the other officials is one of the best things about officiating. Officiating, I think, helps you in every aspect of life, but it especially helped me as a city councilman, as a city council president. I was the referee, or the white hat, in football after several years, and having that leadership role of having to resolve problems and knowing you got to make a decision and it's got to be fair, and it just teaches you fairness. And people talk about equal and fair. You call the game same on both ends. You call the game fair. I guess one of the best things that officiating does is it teaches you to listen. It was great to be a part of the instant replay development and the pitch count rule in baseball. I really think that is one of the best things. There was a lot of resistance against it in Alabama, but after we did it, everybody thought it was a great thing because here's what it does. It lets you get the call right if at all possible. Well, this is being in the Alabama High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame is like the ultimate. And it's an honor that I have to give credit to all officials and my family. I wished my dad was still alive to see this. I'm fortunate that my mom is still alive to see it, but my brothers and sisters have been supportive, and all the people that I've worked with through the years, all the officials have helped me to get to where I've gotten to, and this is just a humbling honor that I just really don't know how to describe it.
Coach Jana Killen, please stand.
Deschler High School won the jackpot when Jana Killen joined the faculty and coaching staff fresh out of the University of North Alabama in 1989, making an immediate and lasting impression while becoming one of the most successful and versatile coaches in AHSAA history during her 33-year career. Her girls basketball teams won more than 800 games through the 2021 season, reaching the state finals 12 times and winning 6 championships. Her volleyball teams have won more than 900 games and 2 state runner-up finishes. She also coached tennis and softball for a combined 25 seasons. The floor at Deschler's Gymnasium is named in her honor.
When I was playing sports, I can't really say that I thought I would be a coach that was successful. All I wanted to do was play and compete in anything. And when that was over, that desire to compete was still in me, so of course I wanted to coach. In 1989, I came to Deschler, and I can remember Coach Tandy Gerald's interviewing me, and he's saying, "You may not win a game this season." He said, he was talking about basketball. And so I was like, that's fine. I just want an opportunity. And so he gave me that opportunity, and I just went to work. I coached basketball, started the volleyball program the following year, and then I coached softball also. And later I added tennis. Getting to know these kids and being there day to day with them and helping them achieve their goals and helping them have dreams and try to attain their dreams. It's so rewarding to me when former players choose to be teachers and coaches. I've got several people out there who's working hard, changing lives of young ladies, and it makes me feel good to see them doing what I love, and now it's what they love, so it's very rewarding. Tuscumbia City Schools naming the court after me, naming it the Jana Killen Court, has meant so much to me. It was very, very special to me that my mom got to be there and see it, and she's my #1 supporter, my #1 fan, and that was very special that she was there on that night. As everybody knows, I do love sports, but I'm very passionate about horses. My players laugh at me all the time because I relate to the way a horse will react to the way they will react. So they laugh and they say, "Coach, we're not horses." I have surrounded myself for 33 years at Deschler with wonderful people. I have a top-notch staff. Wouldn't trade them for anything, and they are my closest, best friends. Not a day that I walk in that Deschler Dome that I'm not happy to be there. I've been blessed. God blessed me with giving me the job at Deschler. This Hall of Fame selection was so exciting for me. I feel like it's just a way of the Alabama High School Athletic Association of saying thank you for all the work I've done. And I feel like future women coaches, that will give them something to push for. And it's a great opportunity, and I appreciate it.
Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame, Coach Jenna Killen. Coach Stacy Luker, please stand.
Sweetwater alumnus Stacy Luker returned to his alma mater after graduating from West Alabama, helping the Bulldogs win 3 state titles as defensive coordinator before becoming head football coach after stints at Washington County and Thomasville. In 12 seasons, he led Sweetwater to 5 state football championships and averaged more than 10 wins per season. He then coached in Mississippi and at Demopolis before leading Clark County to the school's first football state championship in 2021. In 27 seasons, Coach Luker's teams have won 232 games and are 51-15 in the playoffs. The Class 1A State Coach of the Year 5 times, Coach Stacy Luker serves as a deacon at Sweetwater Baptist Church.
I think I do what I do because I feel like it's my calling. I feel like I'm on a mission field. I've always been able to relate to kids and, have good relationships with them and to where they allow me to be myself. I just feel like God has put me in the right place. He's put me in the right schools at the right time and has allowed me to be successful and to be a part of just a lot of great things. One of the coaches made one of the biggest impacts or major impact on me was, of course, Coach Nolan Atkins. Was able to play for him, fortunate enough to play for him, really grew up around him, there in Sweetwater, and gave me my first job. 23 years old and really didn't know, still don't know anything, but I really didn't know anything at 23, but he had the confidence in me at that time to just turn that responsibility over to me and showed me a lot of confidence all year. Man, I've always had a passion for sports and all sports, and so it really was the right fit and the right thing to do. And but I knew at an early age that I wanted to coach. It was really a thing for everybody. You wanted to play football at Sweetwater High School, and of course I was fortunate enough to do that and play on some really good teams. Got to the point in my coaching career where I wanted my boys there to play. And that was one big reason that I moved back to Sweetwater. Special place to coach. It's really where I cut my teeth. I mean, I've spent, I guess, just about all of my career as a player and a coach right there on Highway 43. You see a lot of great coaches, and there were some, you're right, that was before us that really set the bar and set the standard, and some great rival games and a lot of great coaches down through there. When I was in high school or coming through, you had kids that they would drive their pulpwood trucks to practice in the mornings, and we'd practice in the morning, they'd go haul pulpwood all day and come back to practice in the afternoon. It was a break for them to come to practice. Just a lot of hard-working kids down through there at every school. A lot of kids that love to play. Their parents hold them accountable, and fans hold them accountable to play in. They want to represent their schools the right way and represent their teams the right way, and that's one of our goals is to raise up good young men that's going to be good husbands and good fathers and good employees and good leaders for our communities and even our schools. They'll come back and be a part of our schools, and at the end of the day, that's the greater calling, is that we do the right thing by those guys and raise them the right way. It's been very humbling being selected to the Hall of Fame, just very humbling, just knowing that I'm part of a special group that's a very elite group in my mind, and knowing that you have someone like, you're following people like Coach Nolan Atkins, who was part of the first Hall of Fame class,
is also special, and special for me and special for our community and Sweetwater High School.
Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame coach, Stacy Luker. Don Murphy, on behalf of your father, Wayne Murphy, please stand.
Inducted in the old-timer category, track coach Wayne Murphy graduated from Tallahassee High School before attending Troy and Auburn universities. In 1964, he began teaching and coaching track at Auburn High School, helping the Tigers win state championships in 1965, 66, and 67. He served as the director of Auburn University's Memorial Coliseum from 1968 to 1979, then returned to Auburn High as track coach in '84, where he spent the next decade. From 1993 to 1998, he served as Auburn City Schools' first citywide athletic director until his retirement in '98. Coach Murphy developed the indoor runway for long jump, triple jump, and pole vault. A church deacon, he passed away in 2011.
He just loved people. He loved to get the most out of people, get more out of them than they thought they could do. And he was a dad to so many more. And I think he was a dad to a lot of people that didn't have a dad. And he didn't have a dad growing up. So that was special to him, to be that person for those people that needed that. One of his quotes was, "You get out of something what you put into it." And he always put 110% in everything. In his kids, in the program, he just gave it his all. I did hear him talk about Coach Hot O'Brien. I went to the stadium. He actually grew up right beside the stadium. And I think having a coach or mentor in his life, such as Coach O'Brien, was a big part of who he became and wanted to be. I think the biggest thing I remember most about his coaching was he cared about his players. He didn't matter who you were. He'd go the line for you. He would take care. He expected a lot out of you, but he gave it his all too. I think what he tell you is most proud of is how, not what the accomplishments were on the field or on the track, but how he affected their lives. What they had going forward meant much more to him than what they did on the field or on the track. So in 1968, my dad moved from Auburn High School to be the director of the Memorial Coliseum there at Auburn. I think he was the first manager of the Coliseum there, so he had to learn a lot. And he worked a lot with Coach Jordan, the other football coaches. They were running the facility, so he learned a lot from those people. He actually helped he did the running program for the football team while I was there, and then he coached the decathletes for Auburn University. So he got to participate a lot in the sports while he was there. It's just a culmination of everything he did, whether it was on the field, on the track, in the boardrooms, working with you guys. I think to see the fruition, the fruits of what he did, to come to here would mean a lot to him. So as his son, it's unbelievable. It's beyond words. Probably means more to me than him. I wish he was here to see it, to be a part of it.
Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame Coach Wayne Murphy, accepting as his son Don. Coach Jimmy Perry, please stand.
A graduate of Montgomery's Lee High School and Auburn University, Coach Jimmy Perry returned to his alma mater as an assistant coach in 1982 before becoming Lee's head coach in 1995. After 5 seasons leading the Generals, including an appearance in the 6A championship game in '99, he joined the football staff at Auburn University, serving as director of NFL relations and football operations until returning to high school as head coach at St. Paul's in 2008. In 2012, he came home to Montgomery to be the head coach at St. James, where he's the winningest coach in school history. A member of the Lee High School Hall of Fame, Perry has coached in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star Classic and the North-South All-Star Classic and has served in leadership positions in organizations that grow the game and advocate on behalf of players and coaches.
I got to work with some just extraordinary people. Charlie Williamson, longtime football and wrestling coach here in the state of Alabama, gave me my first job at Trinity. And then I worked for Spence McCracken, who at Robert E. Lee, who is a Hall of Fame coach. And Spence taught me so much. You know, he taught me, you know, a work ethic that was second to none. He taught me how to work and actually have fun working. When I left Lee, I went to work for Coach Tuberville at Auburn, and the first thing I learned in college football was watch out for the goalpost, because my first game, we were playing Wyoming on a Thursday night on ESPN, and they had the fog machines going, and they had all those bright TV lights, and it's just like driving your car with the brights on in a fog. You can't see, you got to cut your low beams on. Well, ESPN didn't cut them low beams on, and they ripped that curtain back and they said, go, and I went running out on the field, and I saw something yellow go right by my head, and I said, I wonder what that was, and I turned to look, it was the goalpost. I almost knocked myself out on national TV in my first game. You know, I've had some medical problems, and you know, I took these problems and used them as opportunities to teach the players how to deal with adversity. I use those problems to show the kids how you got to battle through them in adulthood. Most kids, they don't understand that until they actually see it. So I figure, you know, what's the old saying? I'd rather see a sermon than hear one anytime. Well, I was able to show them how to battle through this. You know, hey, look, bad things are going to happen in the game. Persevere, keep playing. You just persevere, and hopefully I showed them how to do it, but really, they inspired me to do it for them. I loved competition. I loved the challenge of winning, and I enjoyed winning. But somewhere along the way, and I think in every coach's career, it changes over from that to what can I do to help my players succeed? Well, I've been very fortunate to have former players go into coaching, and you know, I hope and pray in some small way that I was a positive influence on their life. And you know, it really pleases me, and it's really fun for me to watch them be successful in a career that I do truly love. I am so humbled and appreciative of being selected this year, and you know, I'm just honored to be included in such a small way in such a great group of men who've come along before me.
Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame, Coach Jimmy Perry. Coach Danny Powell, please stand.
Coach Danny Powell graduated from Leroy High School and the University of West Alabama. After several coaching stops early in his career, he returned to his alma mater in 1992 as head baseball coach and defensive coordinator in football before becoming head football coach in 2006. At Leroy, he led the Bears to 4 state football championships and 3 baseball state titles. He then moved to Jackson in 2011 and led the Aggies to a 15-0 record and 4A state championship in his first season, amassing 177 wins in 20 seasons as a high school head football coach. Coach Powell is a member of the Alabama Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame.
I have been very fortunate. I've had a lot of good people, players and coaches that I've been able to work with through the years, and you learn a lot from them. But we had a set of really good athletes, especially great athletes. We had a lot of them for small school. I guess Stacy and I has gone in there and kind of helped complete that 43 card there, because Jackson had tied for a state championship one time, so, you know, that kind of, but like I say, we won their first undisputed state championship when I was there, and then Stacy this past year went into Clark County. He's been there about 3 years, and now he won a state championship there, which was their first, so now we pretty much completed that card, or even stronger. And we found also during that time a lot of coaches, junior college coaches and all, they liked kids that played multiple sports. They felt like, you know, the baseball guys felt like playing football would give them a mental toughness and just give them an edge and advantage when times got tough, help their work ethic, and it would help them. I made more of my success, I guess, later in life when I was older. When I was younger and we had the kids and we were real happy at Leroy, and I was, for a while, I was doing baseball and assistant football for a number of years, and I was content. I wasn't, you know, a lot of football coaches at that time are looking for a head job. Well, I really wasn't. You know, it's like I've told some of the other assistant coaches under me, because you know a lot of them's working to be head coaches. It's like, you're going to learn some stuff from me, and you're going to learn some not tos under me. Don't be afraid. You know, I hadn't got the perfect blueprint. Nobody's got the perfect blueprint. You can do a better job. You go get calm. When you go crazy over a call or something sometime, it stays with you, and it keeps you from being effective thinking ahead, because you're still thinking about the bad call back there where you feel like you got ripped. And you know, your relationship with your kids is important, more important probably than your X and O's. A lot of coaches don't believe that, I'm sure, but I made this statement. To me, two statements important. Coaching football is just like teaching, because most of the time you're teaching football. You're not coaching it. During the games you get to coach, but all that other time at practice you're teaching football. You're teaching technique, you're teaching them plays. It's just a learning process, and you have to have a way to get across it. It's just humble, and it's, you know, it's about it is the best reward experience, whatever honor you can get coaching in high school. So, you know, I put a lot of time in, and my wife's done a lot for me. She's been back of me and supporting me, right there with me, you know, everywhere I've been, and extremely proud. And we're just fortunate. You look around at all these other, you know, great people, great coaches, and it's just a real big honor.
Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame coach, Danny Powell. LaShawn Robinson Gardner, on behalf of your father, Wade Robinson, please stand.
Inducted in the old-timer category, Coach Wade Robinson enjoyed a standout basketball career in Wilcox County before graduating from Daniel Payne College. He came home to Wilcox County, and in 1985, his team won the Class 4A State Basketball Championship in Birmingham. He often gave his players rides home from practice and visited with parents to encourage them to support their children. Active in his church and community, Coach Robinson organized Little League Baseball for the county, and in 2006, received the Special Civic Service and Merit Award for his efforts.
Growing up as a young child, he always talked about his experiences, you know, attending Wilcox County Training School, playing basketball with his friends and cousins, being the captain of his high school basketball team from the 9th grade through the 12th grade. He also played sports such as football and baseball as well. One of the people that basically inspired him was his high school basketball coach, Mr. Booker T. Hollinger. He had a profound impact on him. Around the time in 1984, 85, when all of the commotion started building up around the possibility of winning the state championship, basically going to the state championship, you could actually see, the delight in the community. I think mainly, when you look at a person in the role of being a teacher and a coach, you teach fully during the day, but then also as a coach, that's like a second aspect of the teaching field. So his ultimate goals were basically to just talk to students, give them advice. So I think, just building leadership, character, and teamwork when working with the students in the basketball team. He was always, very proud to see former students that he taught as well as former basketball players that he had a hand in helping to shape and mold, go on and prosper into, their daily lives as far as their professional careers. But I think those were, some of the character traits that he tried to instill in the students. He also, as time went on, we had like a mini farm. So he liked to, dip and dabble with livestock and cattle. We also owned a general store in the community so people, could get necessities as needed. So that was another thing that he provided to the community, a sense of having somewhere that residents could actually, buy needed goods and supplies. I can even remember one summer, in order to have something for the kids to do, he actually transitioned the gym at the high school into like a rec center. So he was able to, just provide a means or a place for kids to actually be able to have a place to go, so for not to be in the street getting into mischief and trouble. Said when he looked back, he don't know how he did it, but it's just like with anything, if it's something that you have a passion for and something that just drives you to want to help your community, you just find a way to do it. Just taking care of the kids and ensuring their parents, that they were in safe hands, under his presence. I think he would be very proud and excited about it. Basketball was his life. He always enjoyed talking about it to anyone that would, sit down and listen. It's just a legacy that we as his kids and family, have something to be proud of and to always have those memories.
Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame, Coach Wade Robinson, represented by his daughter, LaShawn. Coach J.D. Shellwood, please stand. Coach Johnny Shellwood built the foundation for the legendary basketball program at LaFleur High School in Mobile. After graduating from Dillard University, he earned his master's from Indiana, becoming a high school coach in 1964 and leading Tomlinville through integration in the late 1960s. He coached LaFleur's boys basketball team to state championships in 1986 and 1989 while also coaching girls track. A member of the Mobile Sports Hall of Fame, Coach J.D. Shellwood reached the state tournament 10 times while winning 447 games before leaving LaFleur in 1992 to coach at Bishop State Community College for 29 seasons until his retirement in 2021.
My mother, she was a school teacher. She said, John D., you're going to be a basketball coach. I looked at her. I said, how did you know that? She said, I just know you. I just know you. The kids that I played with at Central, meant a lot to me. And some of the teachers, especially Coach Gordon, who was my football coach, and Coach Green, who was my basketball coach, had a lot to do with how I projected myself. Now, I know I started at Central High School. That's my old high school. Staff for Toberville came from Central High School. So I was asked a question. I said, Coach, you can stay here at Central, or you can move on to Toberville, whatever you want to do. And I thought about it, and I got with one of my buddies, a football coach. I said, Coach, you know, if we go to Toberville, that would be my program. I'll get it started. Some of my best players came from the football team, and so we kind of built around that. But I found out that if we're going to have a complete program and be able to compete with all the other schools, we're going to have some players who are not playing other sports, so to speak. But we're trying to get them interested in basketball. It took some doing, but I think we got that point over. I went to Indiana University and did my graduate work. And believe it or not, I took a class from Bobby Knight. I did. But I think that really got me motivated toward defense. My second year, we lost the game, 107 to 98. And I said to myself, I'm not going to score 98 points again and lose. And we used to play zone defense. First 3 years, we played zone. Then I went to Bobby Knight, Indiana, and we went to man. And I think the first game we played in our man defense that next year, I think the team, I don't know who we played, but they only scored 20 points. When I was asked about my name being put on the outside and naming the gym after me, it took me by surprise. I didn't look at me as being that type of person. I just wanted to coach basketball. I go by there every day going to church, and I can kind of see the name on the outside, and every now and then I go in and see the name on the inside. And I said, that's a humbling experience. It is. I look forward to being in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if I belong there or not, but I am excited about it. It's a distinguishing award. It's one that I am humbly looking forward to in that situation. Don't know if I deserve it, as I said, but it's nice to know that there are other people who are thinking of you and consider you to be decent at what you do. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of that.
Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame, Coach J.D. Shelwood. Coach Timothy Smith, please stand. Coach Tim Smith graduated from Ranburne High School and Auburn University before coming home and building one of the best girls basketball programs in state history. In 41 seasons, his teams won 643 games, including 21 area titles, 3 trips to the Final Four, and the 2A state championship in 1991. 11 of his players earned college basketball scholarships, and his program was known throughout the state for its integrity. A leader in his church and the school sponsor for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Smith's principal says his 643 wins in coaching do not compare to the lives he has impacted as a role model.
Where else could you have a job, you know, that you can impact the lives of young people and go to work and still enjoy doing what you're doing? And it's not really like a job. It's just like it's like just a gift. It's a blessing, you know. It's not because I got to, it's because I get to. You make these kids that don't play football, that not involved in sports or cheerleading, make them feel like they're somebody. And that's what been my, that was a big influence right there too, is you're making a difference in the lives of young people and just impacting them in a positive way. And so many Coaches Hall of Fame right there that influenced my life. Coach Harlan Robinson, he was a 2000 inductee in the Hall of Fame. Taught me the discipline, what hard work and all that. And then Coach David Mobley probably influenced me as much as any to get into coach. He made coaching fun. Now, I was a chief scout. I think I scouted Ohatchee 3 times that year, and we ended up playing them the first round. And that coach, they had beat us 14-0, and we didn't think we had a chance. And we can't beat them 12-7, and the fumble recovery. But then that game at Ohatchee that night was like a state championship. I said, if it doesn't get me, I guess I could go ahead and retire. The football team won a state. I'm assistant coach, won a state championship, and my junior high team were undefeated. I said, it don't get any better than that. But the best is yet still down the road. I guess the coach with the least amount of what would I say, experience. So Mr. Hull said, you got girls basketball. But all my great players just were able to, like I said, had 3 2,000-point scorers, and then the last player, the Ralston girl, all-time leading scorer in basketball history right there. So they believed in what I was trying to impart them, that it's all about work. And early on, a lot of those wins came because we just and not bragging, we just outworked. Just blessed to have young ladies, and of course coaching JV football, and young men that bought into what I was trying to teach them and made it fun too. Coach got the purple blazers on that. The other opponent don't have a chance, right? My wife, I have to give her credit for that. She searched high and low, and I think it was worn silk clothing. The purple blazer, that was just a trademark, in the big games, Hey, and we came up with the idea that the best dressed teams usually won, and also the best dressed coaches had a big advantage, especially and when the game's on the line right there, if you look good, you play good. One of our recent graduates played ball at Southern Union says, he asked me after one of the ball games, Coach, how did it feel to walk in the gym when your name's on the court? Coach Harvey played in the NFL. He said, oh man, when you get your name in the hardwood, that's about as good as you can get right there. Name in the hardwood. I don't feel like I deserve it, but it's just all about God and family, God first, and my mom helped. He reared me in church and made sure our doors open. I was going to be there and led me to the Lord early age right there, and just, oh man, Mr. Briggs. I said, Mr. Briggs, I've been, yes, sir, Coach, you have been chosen to be inducted in the Hall of Fame in the 2022 class right here. And I think I had to say that. And just to let it sink in a little bit. First thing they called my wife right here. Got some good news. Text her. Got some good news. And he called me back. And we both had shed a few tears right there. But that's just an honor beyond measure right there. Right there.
An honor beyond measure. Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame coach Tim Smith. Coach Ronnie Stapler, please stand. Coach Ronnie Stapler graduated from Butler High School, then came home to Huntsville after earning his degree at North Alabama, building a high school basketball coaching career that spanned a half-century. At Grissom, Gunnersville, Randolph, and Westminster Christian Academy, he recorded more than 800 wins in 47 seasons, becoming only the 6th boys basketball coach in AHSA history to join the 800 club. His 33-year run at Grissom included the 6A state championship in 1988 and 1999, and the 4A boys golf crown in 1983. His Westminster team won the 4A basketball title in 2016. His programs have helped more than 100 players earn college scholarships, and 3 of his players earned Mr. Basketball honors. Coach Stapler also coached wrestling, football, and softball.
Coaching is about impacting lives, and hopefully along the way that I've been able to impact some young men and women's lives. People who coach me in youth sports, I develop a love for being in athletics and being in sports, and I guess You know, the old cliche, it sort of kept me out of trouble because I wanted to be involved in everything, football, basketball, baseball, and because of those men who took their time with me and built relationships with me, then I developed a fond appreciation for sports and athletics. My senior year, we were 28-0 and had beaten the team that beat us in the state tournament, Walter Holt and Emma Sampson. I think we had beaten them by 24 and 31 points during the year. And that was the first time I'd ever seen four-corner basketball. A fun experience of getting to play great athletes and great players from all over Alabama. And a lot of kids play basketball up there, and there are a lot of really good basketball coaches in North Alabama. I love teaching the game of basketball, getting kids to understand you have to be disciplined to play, you have to be fundamentally sound, and you have to care about one another to be really good players. And I've never worried about winning a game. To me, the most important thing was, can you do things and build relationships and build a program where your program can be competitive every year? Might not win championships, but whether you can build a program versus worry about having a winning season. The best 4 years of my life was coaching my son, Scott. Scott and I had an unbelievable relationship, but he taught me a wonderful lesson when he was a sophomore. We had just played a really tough game, and we came home, and I got the film out and started watching the film. And he gets up and goes and gets his car keys and walks to the door, and I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm leaving." He said, "When I come home, I just want you to be my daddy. You can coach me at school." And that was a great lesson that he taught me about. And when we were at school, I was his coach. When we were at home, I was his daddy. I been fortunate enough to coach two Mr. Basketballs, Marvin Stone and Chris White, and they would have to be in the top two players. And I've coached, I think, 4 other guys who have been players of the year in their classification. It's a very humbling experience, and for anybody to be successful in life, I think as a basketball coach, 4 things have to happen is, 1, I've been blessed with good health. I think you have to have a very supportive wife. My wife has sacrificed so much for me to be able to do this for a long period of time. The wonderful athletes that you've got to coach and the assistant coaches you've had. Some people have this turned upside down. Players are 95% of coaching, and coaching is about 5%.
52 years in the profession. Please welcome to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame, Coach Ronnie Stapler. Presenting the response this evening on behalf of the class of 2022 is Larry DeShera.
Good evening, everyone. To Executive Director Briggs, Associate Executive Director Kim Vickers, Brandon Dean, Alabama High School Athletic Association staff, and Board of Control members, thank you so much. On behalf of the 31st Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame inductees, we would like to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for being selected for this incredible honor. There were 3 significant times in my life that I felt embarrassed, confused, and a little bit guilty. In my very first year of coaching basketball at Lochapoka High School, we won the state championship. In my second year of coaching, we won the state championship again. In my third year, we were state runners-up. During that time, I felt guilty because I was allowed to experience that incredible feeling of winning the state title, bringing that big blue trophy back to Poca, and all the perks that came with it. You see, I knew there were people out there who had coached many more ball games than I, who had sacrificed hours away from their family, and who had spent countless more hours than me in the gym, on the football field, on the baseball diamond, and other athletic venues. Those coaches deserve to feel that feeling, not me. At age 27, I could not understand why I was allowed to be put in that position by the man above. The second time I felt embarrassed and confused and guilty was in 2012 when I was named the Alabama Superintendent of the Year. For you see, I was allowed once again to experience something that was life-changing, that was incredibly humbling, and such a big honor to be selected by your peers. After that announcement, I drove home from Florence, Alabama, all the while pondering why I once again was allowed to experience that incredible feeling. Because I felt once again that there were many more superintendents in the state more deserving. They had been doing it a lot longer. They had made more sacrifices and no doubt made a greater impact than me. I simply did not understand. And finally, the third time I felt embarrassed and guilty was on November 18, 2021, when I received that phone call from Mr. Alvin Briggs informing me that I was being inducted into the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame. Once again, I looked around this room, I looked all over the state, and I see thousands of men and women who have put many more years and more blood, sweat, and tears into their craft than I ever did. I know they are so deserving of this honor. I hope their day will come soon. While embarrassed, I'm incredibly honored to be selected to be a member of the 31st induction class. And speaking on behalf of these inductees, we all recognize those people who came before us, those people who are still fighting the good fight, and those people who saw something in us to put us in our positions to impact the lives of children through athletics. We could not have done it without the love, support, and patience of our spouses, those administrators who put their trust in us, our children who sacrificed not always having their mom or dad around while we helped raise other people's children. And last but not least, our players. Many of mine are here tonight. They were the ones out there scoring the baskets, getting the rebounds, running the touchdowns, and diving across the finish line. They were the ones with the bruises, the broken bones, and the screaming lungs in the fourth quarter begging for air. We were simply their cheerleaders, their guardians, and hopefully their mentors. Every one of us in this room in this induction class just simply wanted to leave our schools, communities, and country just a little bit better than we found it. Sure, we wanted to win games, we wanted to win championships, but the most important victory that we could ever achieve was producing great kids who became great mothers and fathers and great adults. To me, there's no greater honor than to be introduced to a child or to a spouse by a former player, and they simply say, "This was my coach." I recall in 2000 when I received my doctorate degree and people started calling me Doc. I felt uncomfortable as though the label did not fit. I was so used to being called Coach D. Dr. D just did not sound right. When people ask me which title I prefer, I always say Coach D. To me, it's a term of endearment, a thing of honor. I'm pretty sure that Coach Dobbs, Coach Killen, Coach Luker, Coach Perry, Coach Powell, Coach Shelwood, Coach Smith, Coach Stapler, Coach Robinson, and my friend Coach Murphy all feel the same way. I left Mark Jones out on purpose because us coaches never really knew what to call game officials. You see, we called them many names, some too harsh for innocent ears. I started tonight by saying that I did not understand, and I felt embarrassed and confused by God allowing me to feel some of these wonderful and awesome feelings throughout my career. Over time, I understood there was a reason for it. It was God whispering to each and every one of us being honored tonight that I'm going to give you a gift and you need to do something with it. Looking at the achievements and accomplishments of the men and women in this induction class, I have no doubt they heard that whisper and they tried to fulfill that gift that we were all given. Tonight is one of those gifts that we were given. Yes, Mr. Briggs, committee members, and others, we thank you so much for this honor and for this gift. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the 31st induction class. And thank you to all of our former players, coaching colleagues, administrators, our spouses and children, and friends who are out here with us tonight, and to those who were unable to join us. We recognize that without your support, none of this would have been possible. We love and appreciate you. St. Francis of Assisi once said, "While we have time, let us do good." Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame class of 2022, you heard that whisper and you've done good. Congratulations and God bless.
Thank you, Coach D. Great job. We ask that you now turn your attention to the video screens for a special salute to this outstanding group, the Hall of Fame class of 2022.
When troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains.
join me, please, in one final salute to the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame class of 2022. As we conclude our program this evening, we know that many of you will want to visit with our inductees, and they'll be down in front of the stage as we adjourn just a few moments from now. So on behalf of the Alabama High School Athletic Association and the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Associations, we thank you for being part of this wonderful celebration, and we hope to see you back here next year for the 32nd Annual Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame Induction Banquet. Good night, God bless, and safe travels. Awesome.